Good morning. This is Sharon Pinder, and thank you so much for attending our Hot Sheet Live special edition, Where is the Money, Part 7. Can't believe it's Part 7. So we hope that you are ready for a informative session with some titans of the industry, and we just anticipate that it's going to be a good thing. We're going about to start, and if you have not done it, make sure that you are well prepared for this hour, that you don't have to move, stay out of that refrigerator. And as we always say, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And so instead of mimosas, let's do Bloody Marys today. And don't forget the most important part, find the bathroom on your floor. We're about to begin in just a moment. Thank you. Hi, I'm Sharon Pinder, President and CEO of the Capital Region Minority Supply Development Council and operator of 2 MBDA centers. The MBDA Business Center, that's headed up by Dennis Smith, and the Federal Procurement Center, the only one of its kind in the country, and it's headed up by Tommy Marks, who is the director there. We're going to get started on this session today. And in just a few moments, what I'd like to be able to do is just walk through kind of this agenda, but I'm going to ask Tommy Marks to join me on screen, if he could. Tommy, good morning. How you doing? Thank you so much for being the brainchild of this particular event. And you know, it's as you look over our shoulders to see how far we've come. When we started this conversation, our pandemic newsletter and webinar, it was to answer the question around the disasters that the pandemic. And so a lot has happened in terms of us trying to do that. What are some of your thoughts?
I'll tell you, we have been running at warp speed, actually, since it's kicked off on the 13th of March. And we're now at the 7th webinar that we're doing, trying to keep folks informed on what's going on in our world, but also across the communities based on what it takes to do this business and do our part as we help, especially in this pandemic, something that we had no plans for, but people have hit the ground running.
Right, and we ask people to kind of keep tuned, stay tuned to this dial, as they say, because we will continue, and you'll talk about that at the end, we will continue to bring that information that is really pertinent to survival of our minority businesses and our corporate members. And so you can go to our website, crmsdc.org, or the Federal Procurement FPC website to get past information, but we don't want to keep talking. We want to talk about what's happening today. Let's go back to the agenda right now as Tommy will introduce our moderator for today. And I tell you, I'm impressed out of my mind on the speakers that we've lined up. But again, hold on to your seats. This is just 7. We have more parts to come after today. So Tommy, thank you, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. And it is indeed my pleasure to introduce Ms. Diane Dempsey of BAE. She's the Director of Small Business Programs. In addition, as she is the chair of the Capital Region Minority Development Advisory Council. And so Diane has been in this field for a very long time, a lot of experience helping businesses out, especially small business, as she works with her corporation. And today she has an elite panel that she's going to talk about and talk with you too. So Diane, if you would come on, I'd greatly appreciate it. I think you're still muted a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Hear you great. Hear you great.
Great.
Diane. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Tommy. Good morning, Sharon. And of course, good morning to all of you that have chosen to spend some of your day with us. I think this will be a very interesting panel. As Sharon and Tommy mentioned, we put together many of our corporate members for the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council. These are companies that are very committed to working with minority businesses. So I'd like to introduce our panel. I'm going to ask each one of our panelists to say a few words about their company, and we've tried to make this as concise for you as possible so that we can cram as many factoids into our session as possible. So I'd like to introduce Ms. Rita Brooks from SAIC. She's the director of their small business program. Good morning, Rita.
How are you today, Diane?
I'm great. Would you like to share just a few factoids about SAIC, what the company does?
Sure. SAIC is located in Reston, Virginia, and our main capabilities are information technology, IT modernization, engineering, and mission support. We have 3 customer groups. We focus mainly on our civilian markets, our defense systems group, and our national securities group. We have a solutions and technology group that falls underneath of that, which supports all 3 of those groups, which include enterprise IT, software, cyber, advanced analytics and simulation, engineering integration, and logistics. We pretty much support all of the agencies across the board. We're not just DoD, defense related or Army related. We pretty much handle all the markets. We don't manufacture. So if you are a manufacturing company, that's not in our forte. We are really our information technology group. And just to note, we had a 61.2% small business participation of our goals this year, as well as a 9.4% SDB achievement in our goals. So we're very proud of that, and we hope that you guys enjoy this program.
Thank you, Rita. You know, Rita and I are in each other's space. We have an Air Force Solutions group, we have an Intelligence Solutions group, and then we have Integrated Defense. We're 99% DoD. We do support DHS and FBI, but Rita and I laugh because we are what we call competimates.
Yeah.
So we understand each other's world. We often actually sub to SAIC, and SAIC is often on our team. So it's a very collaborative environment that we work in. The same is true of Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. So it's kind of interesting when you look at the landscape that SAIC offers, but you are also in the civilian space. So thank you, Rita. Great introduction. And let's bring on Clarice Jackson. She is the SBLO for Alion and Alion Science and Technology. Welcome. Hi, Clarice. So let's get your slide up. And
morning, Diane. How are you?
Great, great.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here today.
Okay, we're having some technical difficulties.
Alliance.
There we go.
Alliance, we primarily focus on 3 areas. First of all, we're engineering solutions company. We provide critical engineering solutions primarily to DoD, intelligence services, and DHS. Our 3 main Would you like to continue?
Okay, Clarice, we're having some extraordinary
Can
audio
you
challenges.
hear
We can't hear you. So
Diane?
we should move on if possible and come back after you can make some adjustments. Okay? So in the meantime, we're going to bring on my evil twin, Robyn Snyder. Robyn is the manager of small business programs at Lockheed Martin. And I blame Robyn for all of my bad behavior because people think that we're sisters. So in fact, they often confuse us. So welcome, sis, to our panel today.
Hello there. Can everybody hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I hope all the audience can hear me. So we're going to put a slide up on for myself here, Lockheed slide.
Yes, we're going to bring up your corporate slide. We wanted to bring up your beauty slide that features you, Robyn, individually, but now we're going to bring up the corporate slide so that you can share a little bit of information about Lockheed Martin with our audience.
At Lockheed Martin, we have 4 lines of business here. We have the aeronautics, which everybody is pretty familiar with because of the Joint Strike Fighter. That's the largest program. And then you also have the additional C-130s and all down to the F-16s, F-22s, and so on. Under missiles and fire control, you have THAAD, missile control, and you have VLS systems and a bunch of other types of missiles and fire control systems. The group that I belong to is Rotary and Mission Systems, which also includes Sikorsky, that merged with us a couple of years ago. So we have the MH-60 helicopters. Our group is basically the only one that has submarine activity, sonars, towed arrays, anything to do with unmanned underwater vehicle work. We also have some Aegis radar systems up in Syracuse and Moorestown. And we have the remote mine hunting systems that are down in Clearwater and Florida. So then you go to space systems, you have the satellite systems there and the launch systems for space. So those are our main lines of business, and all of that information can be found on our website, where you can delve into it and find out a little bit more about each one and what they do and what programs they have. And I work out of the Manassas facility in Virginia, and that site's been there for over 100 years, believe it or not. Not 100 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And Robyn, we have a site right next door to you.
Right.
And we're very proud to be a subcontractor on the F-35 program. So again, for the audience, we all work together. It's just very interesting how the defense industry operates. More importantly, in the prime contracting community, SBLOs work shoulder to shoulder to help promote small business. We advocate for you on a regular basis. So I also want to note on each one of these slides, which you will receive a copy of, for all attendees, you will receive a copy of these slides. Please note that our supplier links are all listed for you. This allows you to go in and learn more about the expectations for each company and to register in their portal. So thank you, Robyn. I'm now going to bring in Voltaire Walker. He is a sector small business program manager for Northrop Grumman. And Voltaire and I have known each other for probably over 25 years. Great advocate. I consider him not just a colleague, but everybody on this panel, we're all friends. So it's a great day for all of us to spend a little time through cybersecurity and cyber activity and to chat with you about how you can work with us. So Voltaire, welcome to our panel.
All right. Good morning, everyone. As Diane indicated, I'm the sector manager for Northrop Grumman Mission Systems, which is headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. And one common thread you may see across the panelists is that we are either customers, subcontractors, or we're competitor mates. But there's a common thread amongst all of that with respect to this panel. We're all committed to small business. With respect to Northrop Grumman structure, we help four major sectors: aeronautics, mission systems, defense systems, and what's the other one? Targeting systems. Each of those are located.
We need to bring your slide up, Voltaire. Just
Okay,
hold on. Let's bring your slide up. So that will help the audience follow along with what you're discussing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. I think Sonia's bringing that up right now.
His picture's not up either.
There we go. Thank you, Sonia. Now, if we can bring up Voltaire's picture or video cam.
Can you see me?
No, I cannot, sadly.
Can you see me now?
No, but why don't you go ahead and discuss the four different sectors and highlight a little more information for our audience.
Okay. Defense systems is primarily focusing on logistics and sustainment. They're headquartered in Herndon, Virginia, and the small business sector manager for that area is Miss Carla Underrager. So if you're a company that is interested in teaming on spares or various logistics types of opportunities, training, that's a particular area. Space systems, similar to Lockheed Martin's space systems, our space system is really from orbital AKT, as well as some aspects of our aeronautical systems. And their primary focus, as you would guess, would be space systems, satellite launches, and those types of things. And then we have the mission systems. That's the sector that I'm familiar with most because that's where I spend most of my time. Our focus is on internal guidance systems, radar targeting systems, navigation systems that goes on all the various platforms. So we team with all of these companies that are on this panel, or we sub to them. And then there's, I think that's all four sectors right there. Okay.
Please note that Voltaire's information, again, is noted on the slide. Since we're waiting on Clarice to get clarity, can you bring up my slide and I'll discuss that briefly? I don't want to take up too much time. I want to make sure that the audience understands that this information is as easy as just clearly, Googling these companies and going on our website, and there's usually a supplier or supplier diversity page for you. Can you bring up, Sonia, can you bring up my slide, please? Well, maybe not. Okay. There, no, that's Northrop. Although I worked for Northrop at one time. That's a joke that Voltaire and I kind of share. I always say, I let Northrop train up all of my suppliers, and if they're good enough for Northrop or good enough for Lockheed Martin, we'll take them all day long. Okay, this is our slide. And we have three sectors, as you can see. We have electronic systems, platform and services, and intelligence and security. Just briefly, the electronic systems, we do an awful lot with DARPA. We do a lot of really cool stuff out of our FAST lab. We do stuff for the Mars rover. It's all about sensor systems, communications, electronics in general, very complex weaponry systems. Platforms and services, that's where we build our tanks. And we also have our ship repair group, which also repairs all of the non-nuclear naval vessels. We have a big shipyard in Norfolk, huge shipyard in San Diego, and three others. One's in Mississippi. We have them in varying parts of the country. And we are the largest manufacturer of armored vehicles in the world. And we also maintain, how do I say this when we talk about ordnance systems, we maintain Army bases that have been perhaps around for 100 years or more, and we have to actually maintain the base because they have some weaponry that needs to be maintained. Kind of interesting. And then in intelligence security, again, very complex weapon systems. It's more about analytics, and we also do radar systems, etc. Very interesting world that we all live in. So again, at the bottom of the page, lower left corner, this is our portal address. I encourage all of you to learn as much as you can about these companies by visiting their websites, registering on their portals to make sure that you understand what they expect from you to be a supplier. It is important that you know what we do. And we all don't do the same things. Although we may overlap, we don't all do the same thing. Now, do we have an opportunity to bring Clarice on? Is she available? Okay, let's move on because, again, I am tracking the time and I want to make sure that we use our time wisely so that we can get into a visceral discussion that will help answer a lot of your questions about the how, the why. So
they are trying to get Clarice on audio only because we are having some network problems, but you can move on. We'll adjust as you are.
Yes, we will. And I'd like to pull her into some of this discussion too, because we all have different perspectives. So I've asked Voltaire and Rita to address this from their corporate perspective, this particular question. Address subcontracting gaps or opportunities. So when you have gaps or you have opportunities, what is your process? Rita? Rita, I can't hear you. You need to adjust your audio.
I'm unmuted.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. When we have gaps, I discuss that mainly with our contracts group and our business development group. And then we reach out to some of the people that are in our portal, which is the importance of you registering on the portal, because that's one of our first ways to try to find based on your NAICS code. The more information you put into our systems, and they are very much alike, asking the same questions, the better we can source your company. So that's generally how we, and then when we're networking at events, we go to conferences, we pretty much have that identified in our back pocket. So we really are in tuned in who we're speaking with at the conferences.
Voltaire, would you like to weigh in or pile on?
Yes, over the past few years, one of our primary focuses has been to increase our subcontracting activity in the small business categories for service disabled veteran-owned small business, hub-zone small business, and small disadvantaged business. So consequently, when we're going to outreach events, we're looking for companies that have a compatible technical capability with us, and they fall into those categories. And generally, those companies, as we're focused on trying to shore up our shortfall in those subcontracting areas, we're focused on companies that have manufacturing capabilities that are qualifiable to the aerospace industry manufacturing standard, as well as many of the other technical requirements for manufacturing companies. The fact that they happen to be hub zone, small disadvantaged business, services, they veteran all small business is a plus. But first they have to be qualified. So when we're focusing in those categories, but we're also looking to make sure that they are capable of becoming onboarded.
And by the way, Rita actually worked for Northrop Grumman too. So we've all done our time at Northrop Grumman. It gives us a sense of familiarity with each other too. But I also want to make a note here. We focus on capability.
Right.
That's what we're looking for.
Right.
I frequently get approached by companies that say, I'm a woman-owned small minority-owned business. Okay, that's great. But what do you do?
Right.
So the focus is really capabilities. And you also mentioned a few things, Voltaire, about certifications, quality, all these things are crucially important because most of us are supporting the warfighter. So man life is often at risk. So there is a big emphasis on meeting the requirements. And where do those requirements come from?
The Department of Defense.
Absolutely. It's
Right.
our customer.
It
we dream up this stuff. We slow it down.
From our customer, but also you have to understand that, because we have the DoD as our main, customer, past performance counts. So if you're a small business just starting out, it's very difficult to come to a Northrop or BAE or an SAIC or whoever and say, well, I want to start doing business with you guys, but you have no federal experience at all. So the risk factor increases exponentially on our part to be able to utilize you in a new contract or a new opportunity. So a lot of times, even talking with Diane, we've gone to some of these conferences, with Northrop, everyone, that's where you're going to have to pair up with a more seasoned small business that has federal experience to get your feet wet before you're able to come to one of us to get this done.
I might also add to on your point, Rita, is that there are many suppliers that are doing business with one portion of Northrop Grumman, but they also must be requalified for another Northrop Grumman. Just because you're doing business in one sector of the company doesn't automatically guarantee that you'll get business in another sector until you meet that sector's onboarding requirements.
Now that is something different with Northrop Grumman than it is with some of the other companies because of Northrop Grumman's sector and their qualifications. That may not be true with SAIC or BAE or Lockheed.
Actually, our businesses in our different sectors are different, but I will say this, and I know, and I'm holding the phone up, folks, if you can see me, because I'm having some audio challenges, so I'm having to use my phone, and I was told to keep it close. If you have past performance with us, it doesn't matter what part of the company, make sure you point it out because it means that we have valued you. May not be the perfect fit, but it's still worth sharing. And I also like to mention that we have a colleague, her name is Ludmilla Purnell with General Dynamics, and she always says, there's always hope, and there is. We do focus on past performance, but oftentimes we'll give a small business just a little bit to get them started. But it's because the owner has significant credentials. So there is hope. And we hope that you'll also, as Rita said, partner with another small business, get some past performance, and don't forget about us. We want to hear from you. We want you to help us. We need you to help us. You just have to be procurement ready. So I need to switch off to another topic. And I need to switch around until we get Clarice, because she's got some answers to some questions for us. But I'd like to switch over to Robyn and talk about a topic that we've all heard about for the last 3 to 4 years. And I want Robyn to weigh in on what is the importance of CMMC for our supply base, Robyn?
Well, hello, everyone. CMMC, as you know, is a NIST requirement from the federal government for all DoD contractors. Everyone must be certified by 2025, but not necessarily do you need to complete everything right this second, but you do have to prove that you are working on it and have documentation in case the customer comes by the end of the year. Supposedly, sometime in October, they can start auditing companies to see if they're working towards one of the levels that you have to achieve. One thing that I found unusual is that commercial off-the-shelf companies also will have to get an in-person assessment and be certified by one of the for one of these certification companies that will be a third-party certifier. So that was kind of interesting to me because I wouldn't think that the COTS folks would have had to do that, but they do. But if you need assistance with this, there's a lot of resources available to you through the PTACs. Those are great places to go to. Another information, and I don't have it on here, but if you want to make a note, I'll do it slow. But the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment for the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification is at https://www.acq.osd.mil/CMMC/FAQ.html. And that web link can really answer a lot of questions for you and clarify any kind of questions you may have about what you need to do, what level you need to get, how you get accredited, and so forth. But also Lockheed Martin did present at, I guess it was about a month ago, we had offered a seminar through the CRMSDC with some of our SMEs for CMMC. So that was a nice freebie for you. If you didn't see it, I'm sorry. I don't know if it'll be repeated, but it was an excellent way to get some information from some of the SMEs that are working on CMMC. But if you do not get the CMMC certification, you will not be able to work with any DoD government agency or prime contractor. So that eliminates you from working with all the government, basically. And I don't know what they're going to do about the non-DoD areas. We work with the DoD. We sold off most of our activities that are with the non-DoD agencies to Leidos. So our only group is C4I and C6ISR group and cyber that we kept for the non-DoD, like Homeland Security and the intelligence agencies. So I guess if we have questions later, we'll see if I can answer some of those. But that's basically the importance of it. It's a requirement from the government based on the NIST SP 800-171 requirement.
This is nothing new. Talked about it. Yes, Rita.
No, that's good. There's also a lot of articles out there. I think Washington Technology, actually the CRM SCDC has, I think, a training on that coming up. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to look out there and even Google, but you really need to do that because you are going to be halted come that start date that's, to work with companies like us.
I might also
and more,
add, Diane, that
go ahead, Voltaire. Turn on your camera, Voltaire.
Okay. Northrop Grumman, I didn't know it was turning off, quite frankly.
Yeah, you turned it off with the little green button.
Okay. We have camera.
Northrop was in the mentor protege program with DoD to help support this, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to mention is that last year, Northrop Grumman trained over 2,000 small business companies across the U.S. on the DoD cybersecurity requirements and a mentor protege agreement we had with UCLA. So it was a very successful and well attended. So they were in cities all across the U.S., including LA, Kansas, here in Maryland, even down at Bowie State University. We had about 150 companies come in for that training.
And it's important to all of us. We can't afford to lose our suppliers. So that's why we bring this up frequently. Thank you all. Okay.
Yeah, because
so
they are going to flow.
We're going to bring Clarice in. Bring Clarice in, please. Bring Clarice in.
Hi, this is Clarice Jackson. Can you hear me?
We can. Can you turn on your camera?
We're only going to do the phone.
Okay,
audio
that's fine. That's fine. We'll take you under any circumstances. So would you like to give just a little more background on Alion for us?
Absolutely. Alion Science and Technology We design and deliver critical engineering and critical solutions, primarily to DoD, the intelligence services, DHS, and various other federal agencies. We're primarily organized around three of our groups. We have our Cyber Network Solutions Group, our Advanced Technology Group, and our ISR Technology Group. I can say that each one of our groups very much works with small businesses. And as you can see within the different domains within cyber, we do various things such as live, virtual, and constructive training. We do a full spectrum of cyber services. In our Advanced Technology Group, of course, there's the advanced R&D, reverse engineering, life cycle management, flight systems, and our ISR. We design sensors. We have spectrum operations. So typically on the higher end of the engineering services.
So Clarice, I have a couple questions for you. For your company, and I'd like everybody just to pile on, what is the best means of communication for you? If a company wishes to approach you, what should they do? What's the best means of communication?
The best means is by email. Because when you have the email communication, that gives us an opportunity to review the capabilities that are in the statement. It provides to see if there's a linkage between the three groups that I just mentioned. It's an opportunity to see where you're located. So it provides us the girth of information we need to be able to forward your information on to our program teams.
Okay, so is that true of everyone, all the panelists?
Yeah, I think with SAIC, when you put your email, when you email us on the small business email address, not just put your capability statement, which is very important, but tell us where you want the information to go, what opportunities you have found that you're interested in with any of the companies. I mean, it's the same across the board, because you just can't say, oh, I do engineering services. Okay, now where do you want to utilize these services? Are you more in tune with Army, past performance, or Navy? You have to be specific in where you want this information to be disseminated. We are not decision makers. We are vessels to get you to who you need to get to. Yeah. And we're your first line of vetting to say, okay, I think this other group may be interested in this company. So just put as much information as you can when you're sending us an email.
I would also add to that if you could bring us an opportunity. So if you see something coming out of FedBiz Ops and you say, oh, this is right up your bandwidth and you need a partner, then put that in your email and say, hey, we've seen this. This is something we want to work on. Is Lockheed planning to do anything with this? If so, we're interested in either being a teammate or working on it. This is what we can do to add value. But you've got to let us know what part of it you're wanting to do, or if you're wanting us to sub to you for, say, a set aside or something like that, then you need to let us know what is our part. What do you want us to do on that, so that we can get it to the right folks, the program managers, the business development folks for review, and then they take it from there. So yeah, we are the vessels. We are marketing you internally, and the more information you can provide, the more specifics you can provide, the easier it is for us to do that marketing.
I might also add.
Yes, Voltaire, go ahead.
That there's an aspect of target marketing that should be done as well. And that should start, at least with Northrop Grumman, I would venture to say with all of us, with that supplier going to our supplier diversity site. At Northrop Grumman, that's www.northropgrumman.com/suppliers. And when you go to that link, there's a lot of information about Northrop Grumman that you can learn before you even reach out to any of us. And I think it's very important to do that so that you, as a small business, don't spin your wheels trying to target every element of our company. Review the different sectors, what the capabilities are, and there are sometimes some subtle onboarding processes within that particular business area that you may encounter. So there's a lot of homework that can be done in advance of reaching out to the supplier diversity manager. And I would encourage you to do that homework so that when you do contact my office, you have some sense of where your company fits within Northrop Grumman. And then we can have a more productive conversation about contact programs to focus on and how to present yourself to that particular element of Northrop Grumman.
So let me give a little plug for the Federal Procurement Center. You were introduced to Tommy Mark. His team can help you do the research you need to do, and they can help you be better positioned, because we all, don't roll your eyes, please, panelists, we all get those rather poorly crafted emails.
Yes.
And we don't have time to go back and say, this is a mess, I'm not going to forward it, okay? It's an embarrassment. But oftentimes it's because the small business is hurrying. And I understand that. So I'd like to make a suggestion to our audience. Develop a script that has the basics about your company. And then when you're tailoring it to a specific opportunity, then maybe you can attach a couple slides that address the work that you've done in that area. Make it simple and easy for yourself, but more importantly, then it'll have a more crisp, professional look to it. And that's really what you want. You also want to save time. So these are the things that the Federal Procurement Center can actually coach you on, and they're there to help you. And I was so grateful when they were formed, because it helps us too. Unfortunately, we don't have the bandwidth to do all the things that we'd like to do. I'd also like the panel to weigh in on how far ahead do you source? I know that we're forming teams 18 to 24 months ahead. How about you? Rita?
It's about the same. You know, we all get the opportunities at the same time. So we're all trying to get that team together at the same time. You know, but that's not to say that, you know, we may have been working 2 years out and that company that we had planned is not in business anymore. So there are always opportunities, you know, that come up at the last minute that the program people are scrambling because they need to fill that void. So don't ever discount. Yes, we do put it out there pretty far in advance and we have developed our team. But again, there's always hope.
I might also add, Diane,
there is always.
Sometimes timing is important.
Yeah.
I know of more than one supplier that has knocked on my door for at least 5 years before we got that opportunity. So it may not come in the first 6 months, may not come in the first 18 months, but maintain some form of disability, not harassing, not calling all the time, but, you know, staying in touch, because we're there to advocate for the small business, but the opportunity may not be there for your particular small business.
Right.
And if I could, Diane, I have a perfect example, Diane.
Please.
Last week, I was contacted by a small business. We had a press release on a opportunity that we had won. Now, typically in that case, we have our core team in place. So he wrote and said, I'm interested in this particular program. Here's the press release that I read. Here's what I'm doing in this space. I can add value, and he listed the areas. So I was able to get his information directly to that program team, and which they're talking to him right now. In the additional information we received, we were working on another opportunity that he was perfect for, his company. So not only did he get introduced to the team because he gave us such great information on the first opportunity, but we were able to engage him immediately and put him on a team on an engagement we're working on.
That happens
That's
all
amazing.
the time.
That's truly amazing. It is. Yes.
But can I
Rita?
also say that there, don't come to us with a laundry list of what you do. You
Yes.
know, what Voltaire said was go to the website, do your homework, target your best foot forward when you're sending us email. I had somebody come to me and said, oh, I do engineering services, I do staffing, I do manufacturing, and oh, by the way, I do janitorial work too. And I'm thinking, why would you come with me with something that's not even part of my core business? So just have that background work. It goes a long way. And probably
Yeah.
when the supplier went to Clarice, that person did their homework and put that best foot forward so that she could then send it to whoever she needed to send it to.
One other
Absolutely.
technique that I would like to discourage for the audience is the name dropping.
Mm.
It's almost embarrassing when you come up to us, and yes, we will eventually go back to normal outreach events, but for now, all of us are doing this type of thing. This is what we're doing now on a regular basis. This is our new normal. Happy to interact with you. However, when you come to me and you start name dropping, the first thing I always chuckle. I always say, well, if you know them, why are you bothering with me? Because they always want to say they know the president or the vice president. Why are you bothering with me? I'm just a director. I mean, for heaven's sake, go to the president. So let's be honest when you approach people. And I also want to switch up a little bit, because all the things that we've talked about have been strategy, right? Target market, do the registration, get the capabilities focused on what we're interested in, tracking capabilities and opportunities, aligning them. All these things are strategic. And I think that's wonderful. We did have a couple other quick questions that came through. We had a compressed list. Has COVID-19 impacted your ability to bring on subcontractors? Panel, anybody?
No, we haven't had any issues with that. We're tracking our current supply base, because that's very important that we continue with our current contracts and make sure that none of those suppliers are failing or in trouble. And we've been paying them ahead of schedule. As soon as their invoices come in, they're paid immediately. So we want to keep them going. And some of the small businesses have had issues, in staffing, because some of their folks, especially in the manufacturing areas, where those folks are more exposed to each other on the lines, their staffing sometimes gets shortened if some of the folks come down, and then the folks around them had to get quarantined. But otherwise, that as long as, everybody's okay, we haven't had an issue that I've been aware of.
Yeah. Voltaire, any strategic changes, any problems?
Yes. One of the things that many of these companies to do is focus on marketing their capabilities, as opposed to trying to start with, I'm a woman-owned, I'm a minority-owned, I'm a what?
Yeah.
You're a small business.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what your real core competence is, because there might be 7 codes that you qualify under. However, what is the NACE code where you have your most business experience? Now, how does that match with Northrop Grumman? Those are the kinds of questions that I'm going to be asking, because I need to know what office, what building, what specific location to direct you to. So the more information I can get that would allow me to assist you in introducing your company, the better it may be for you in getting that opportunity.
So this is another frequent question. I know you all have heard this before. That building down the street from my home,
yes.
I'd really like to subcontract some work there. That building doesn't even have a buying center, and they don't do the type of work that your company is interested in. So I think what Voltaire's trying to say is you really need to, first of all, be open to that type of thing. It's not going to be in your backyard. That often is not the case. And for some of us, we actually need, companies to deploy, to go overseas, to work OCONUS. And that is where COVID has impacted some of BAE, because the question was really about how COVID has impacted you. We have furloughed employees. Robyn, you mentioned the assembly line, same thing with our electronics group and our shipyard. We've had to make some accommodations. For the most part, our subcontract base has remained in place. We're also paying them very quickly, much quicker than I ever thought possible. We're paying them in 15 days. I believe Lockheed Martin is upon receipt or less than 7 days, which is amazing for as big as our companies are. So I think that COVID has impacted us. All of us telework.
So Diane, let me go back and I'll address that particular question. We have been monitoring many of our suppliers across the corporation, and in some cases where necessary, we've accelerated the payment on many of the small businesses. Because you have to understand that our supply chain is as important to us as we are to our customers in their supply chain. So we have a best interest in maintaining our supply chain viably. And that's why we monitor them closely in this COVID-19 environment.
And we hope to continue paying. I know that at one point payments were going out further to the right. We'd like to bring them back as advocates so that our small businesses are paid even outside of COVID-19. So another question that was brought forward to us from our attendees, you know, again, can a nonprofit get a teaming agreement or relationship with any of your companies? Clarice, please weigh in on this one.
Yes, absolutely. We have several of those relationships in place today. Again, it depends on what your capabilities, what services you're offering, but that by no means is a showstopper. And in many cases, it's something that we need.
Thank you. Rita, I think you're in the same boat with me, the same. We do the same thing. Okay. So I have another question, and this comes up all the time. Where can I get a list of your subcontracting opportunities? Robyn?
Well, we do not have a list of our opportunities because we are working on current programs, and business development. Those folks are looking at, you know, going out and looking at feds bid ops and what's coming down the pike, or, you know, other kinds of opportunities that they're interesting, you know, in moving forward. So we don't have a list until they come back to us and say, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this. And then it's my, you know, job to go out and seek, or they'll talk to the subcontract administrator and actually have them go out and also seek for some small businesses. And then they'll also come to me and ask for suggestions. So we're all working as a team together to try and bring in the best qualified suppliers that we can for those opportunities. So we're always searching the databases, and this is why I know everybody thinks a database is a giant black hole, but it is until the requirement shows up. Then when the requirement becomes an open hole for us to search on those NAICS codes, and that's why it's important to put as many NAICS codes down that you qualify for, so that if we're looking in that area, like our system actually searches on the first two parts of the NAICS. So if we're looking for manufacturing 3-4, then we'll pull up all those manufacturing companies in the 3-4 category. So, and then we'll start looking and perusing through those. So, you know, it's not just the Lockheed database, but there's also databases outside of Lockheed that we search, with the organizations that we belong to, like the CRMC, we're using as our database, and others. So we have a multitude of areas we can go to locate qualified suppliers. And notice I said the word qualified. Qualified means, what do you have as quality certifications, software certifications? What is setting your company apart from your competitors? And we're going to be looking for that. What's your Dun & Bradstreet rating? We look at all of that information to make sure that we're picking the top of the cream of the crop for these opportunities.
So the reason why we don't post, folks, just so you'll know, is we're all, you know, stockholders. I mean, we have to report to our stakeholders. This is a competitive advantage. We don't want everybody to know what we're in pursuit of. So we don't, and we're not required to publish, but there are avenues. You can always go to the Army Small Business Office, the Navy, every single agency posts the opportunities. We get the same information that you can get. So this is why the MBDA, Federal Procurement Center, is so important for you, because they can help you navigate that. They can teach you how to do the market research that is so necessary to identify what's coming. And you need to have a marketing strategy. And that means you need to identify your pipeline well ahead. Low-hanging fruit is great. I agree. You should go after that too. But you have to have that long-term strategy. So let's switch gears a little bit here. Okay. And I want to ask, and I think, Rita, you already identified how well you were doing with your numbers in terms of small disadvantaged businesses. I know that BAE, the goal, folks that are on the phone, in the DoD world and in the civilian agency world, the goal is 5% of the total subcontracting dollars. I'm very happy that last year we were over 60% with small business of our subcontracting dollars, and we were just a smidge over 10% with SDB.
You just had to beat me out by a percentage point, didn't you, Diane?
You'll get me next year. So, Clarice, where were you? Can you give us an idea of how you performed?
Yes, our overall small business percentage was at 52.1%, and our small disadvantaged business was 8.1%.
Good for you. Yeah. How about Northrop? Voltaire?
Yeah, Mission Systems last year, the goal for small business was 23%. We did 39.3. We also exceeded in the hub zone and the women-owned small business category, 3.2 for hub zone, 7.7 for women-owned small business. Our challenge, of course, is continuing to grow the spend in the small disadvantaged business area, as well as maintaining our focus on hub zone small business and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. So when we're going to procurement conferences, Diane, we're looking for companies that have the requisite capabilities but fall into those business places.
Yeah. I think we're all rowing in the same direction. We just want to get some more small businesses in our boat. And let me tell you why, folks, because we're all doing well, but as we know, COVID has impacted our supply base. We're in a recession. That's going to impact our supply base. And our customer keeps coming out with new and different requirements. And smalls don't always have that capacity. So we need more suppliers to support us. And just an FYI, we are required to compete everything. We don't just award subcontracts. We have to be competitive. We have to show the customer that we are abiding by the federal acquisition regulations, which requires that we award either on best value or low cost. So we can't just pick and choose. We have to have a good pool so that it's competitive. So I've tried to address quite a few of your questions. I've asked the panel to stay for overtime if we would like to entertain a few more. And I'm going to turn this back over to Tommy and Sharon because we're right at 10:28, but we can continue. All the panelists have agreed to stay on the line. Thank you so much.
Well, Diane, thanks very much, and to the team. A lot of very good information. And I apologize to the audience of, automation is automation, and technical difficulty is a part of what we do and deal with. And really appreciate Clarice getting back on the line to talk about Alion. I think, Diane, it's interesting how we had a Q&A plan, but I think you covered most of what folks, even in pre-registration, sent in very, very well. Questions on, on what to do when working with primes, and to include working with DoD. I will tell you that as the team talked about, especially CMMC, we actually have the Deputy Assistant Secretary, if I got a title right, Katie Harrington, will actually be here on the 4th of August and talk about CMMC from the DoD perspective. And for those folks who are out in the audience when Robyn was talking about it, the rest of the federal government goes the way the DoD really goes in some of these things. When it comes to NIST and CMMC, I think the other federal agencies are waiting to see what happens in DoD. And there'll be some of them, especially like Homeland Security, that will still require the same type of certifications. So businesses just need to be aware of that, and we're doing all we can to share that with them. So we have some other things coming up also next month on our last hot sheet that went out for the audience. If you go to the website, you can download the hot sheet newsletter, which also has significant information about what's happening in our spaces and the upcoming events. Again, Diane, I want to thank you and the team. It's been great. A lot of good information for the audience on our websites. All the slides that were there that Diane and the team put up will be on the website within the next 24 to 48 hours, along with the 3 handouts that we put on the webinar that you have access to. So I'll pause for a moment.
Tommy, are we going to take any more questions?
Let me just see, how much time do we have left, Shonda?
We're right at 10:31, but it's totally up to you. We've still got several hundred people on the line, so if you'd like to, feel free.
We'll take a couple. Sonia and Kalala, please.
I did have one question that was sent to me. I didn't want to address it until overtime because it was actually directed to me.
Right. Diane, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I did write a column on xenophobia for, as the chairman of the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council, I actually brought it to the attention of our executive committee because I feel like with the mission of our organization, we need to stand tall in certain areas. And one of the things that I've experienced in my career, you see some of my, not just colleagues, these panelists are my friends. We break bread together, we travel together. I've even stayed at Robyn's home before. We work together. And that's what I felt our message needed to be. And I'm also working in a culture at BAE Systems that simply will not tolerate hate speech. We have an ethics code, and every single company on this panel has a similar ethics code. It's part of our corporate responsibility. And if we are found to disrespect another employee, use racial slurs, make negative comments about gender, sexuality, religion, anything that a lot of people consider to be, too touchy-feely, that is grounds for being written up. And you could ultimately lose your position, and it could impact your overall career for that kind of bad behavior. So we take it seriously. We can't work in an environment at BAE where we're trying to get the best and the brightest. I think that all of my colleagues will agree with this. We're all looking for the best and the brightest out there. So if you look sometimes at the composition of the company, you will see that we take this very seriously. And BAE stands for that. And I'm absolutely convinced, because I work with all these companies on a regular basis, we don't work with unethical companies. That's simply not what we do. And we're going to look at small businesses in terms of your code of ethics as well. So remember that. Your behaviors reflect on your company. So I caution my colleagues all the time, my team, don't put silly things on Facebook. Don't put silly things on LinkedIn. And more importantly, don't enter into that kind of behavior. Let's all be professional, and let's do the best we can to support the warfighter and our country. And that was a question that was directed at me, and they wanted my comments on BAE and how we address that kind of behavior. Thank you. Any other questions for the audience, from the audience for our panel?
Thank you,
I have
Diane.
a question. With COVID-19 canceling so many networking events, how would you recommend we get connected to the right people in your organizations?
We're here.
Yeah, I think even looking at all of our presentations, we just email us what we've been talking about this hour.
Yeah. We've spent a significant amount of time talking about how to communicate strategically. So COVID-19 has done nothing but blow up my email.
Oh,
mine too.
And we're on Zoom calls all the time.
I repeat that going to the Northrop Grumman website, www.northropgrumman.com/suppliers, you will find the list of small business liaison officers across Northrop Grumman. So as part of doing your homework, when you find that particular segment of Northrop Grumman that you feel might be best, reach out to that supplier diversity professional that is listed on the Northrop Grumman website at that link and contact that person. That person is there to address the small business requirements on their particular campus. And so you can get a much more precise response on what opportunities may be within Northrop Grumman through that particular supplier diversity manager professional on that campus.
And I think that's a good point, Voltaire, because each organization has a different grouping of their small business liaison. So for example, BAE has different divisions with different small business people, same with Robyn at Lockheed. But then, for example, with me at SAIC, I'm it. So it really depends. Look at the company to figure that out. It's not that difficult.
Right. Yeah. Here's what I would say to the audience, that, and we get asked the question all the time, the bottom line is federal government did not shut down because of COVID.
Exactly.
They still had regular business that had to take place and still taking place. And so what you need to do, you have to go to the websites of the agencies. Everybody's doing everything virtually right now, and they're still open for business. And so outreach events are being done by business, to include the week-long events that we would normally go to in person are now being, for example, the MBDA in September will do a complete 3-day virtual event for our annual outreach. And the Navy, at the end of August, go to their website. Gold Coast is still a go, and it's 100% virtual. Registration is open. We've put that in our newsletters. So folks, it is a new norm, but it's still business as usual in our spaces, is what I'd say. And I'm going to close. I got 2 comments, and we'll close out. One is that our consortium that is run by Ms. Pinder has also received another grant from the Department of Commerce to work strictly the impacts of COVID. And Sonia Bigelow-Smith is actually heading that team up, where we've been trying to do research and gather data so we can provide back to the Department of Commerce on how COVID has actually impacted minority businesses. And so we're working that. The other piece is, I think most folks, if you follow the news, Congressman John Lewis passed away on Friday, at 80 years old, the last living, really, one of the marchers. And so, our prayers and thoughts go out to his family. And we've lost a great one. And a lot has to do, what he did also has to do with what we do in this space here.
Absolutely.
Work with minority businesses. Okay. Again, I want to thank the panel. Yes.
Tommy, I have one other quick comment based on one of the questions that was sent, and then we can close it out. Just give me a second. How can a SDB, small disadvantaged business / minority business enterprise, grow their business once they are actually working for a company? And my comment to you is, do a terrific job, not just technically, but teammate.
So Diane, let me expand on that. Also, being flexible. I'm gonna cite it as an example. We had a
Yeah.
small business that it was suggested to the small business that if you were to relocate your distribution business to a hub zone, you might be open to more opportunities with Northrop Grumman. That small business owner listened, made that move. Several $100,000 it cost to make that move. But between 2014 and 2019, the business just from Northrop Grumman doubled in that 5-year period. Double.
Yeah.
Just by making that decision.
Yeah. Flawless execution, my friends. Okay, that's it, Tommy. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you very much. Like I said, go to our website. You can go to www.mbdafpc.com, and all the information will be hung there along with the council's website. And those slides are in there. Thanks again.
All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you. Everyone have a good
Tommy.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.